And what we needed was our offense to score today. And then what we needed from our defense is to get stops when we needed to. And that's what we did today. We did enough on defense to be able to win. All right. And then offensively, okay, that second half was fantastic. And really proud of our entire team for winning that game, because it took every man in that room to win it.
You're listening to BetQL Daily, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, with Joe Ostrowski, Joe Giglio, and Aaron Hawksworth from BetQL.
Welcome back. BetQL Daily, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe O, Joe G, Aaron Hawksworth on a Tuesday morning. The voice there of Brandon Staley, I think the official coach of BetQL Daily. Love that guy. And his team is playing great football right now. Great win over the Browns on Sunday. Let's talk some NFL here. Jim Sanas of FanDuel and NumberFire, kind enough to join us on a Tuesday morning. Jim, let's start with last night, Monday Night Football. The Ravens come back. Lamar Jackson has a tremendous offensive performance, over 500 yards of total offense. Jim, what was the biggest takeaway from you? The Ravens defense struggling against a suspect Colts offense, or the Ravens offense, specifically Lamar, throwing them back in the game? Which side stood out to you more last night?
Definitely Lamar bringing them back in that game, because if there was one lingering criticism of Lamar Jackson, it was, okay, can he lead a team when they're in a hyper-negative script where rushing is not as relevant and where they know it'll be a drop-back passing game? And I think we saw his first year in the playoffs, or in the Tennessee game in the playoffs a couple years ago. That wasn't really a thing they were capable of then, whether it was because of Lamar still developing as a passer, whether it was because of a lack of pass catching depth, youth for Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. They couldn't really do that yet, but they did that against a decent Colts defense. I don't think that they're great by any means, definitely probably a bit overhyped coming into the year, but to see them do that in that situation, even with Sammy Watkins going down in game, no Rashad Bateman yet, I thought that was really impressive. So I think to me, what that says is that the Ravens are capable of digging themselves out of holes, which, fair or not, that was the perception previously that they could not do. So I think that proving that there in a spot where the Colts needed to win, I think that was pretty impressive. That's my biggest takeaway, is the fact that they can climb themselves out of holes, which gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of money line stuff with them.
Jim, it's remarkable if you look at the top of the AFC, the depth that they have, and this is something that we've discussed over the last few days, and especially with Baltimore's performance, what they needed, the comeback that they needed against a not great Colts roster, especially with all their injuries right now. If you're power ranking the AFC, and of course Kansas City, disappointing to many, but as challenging of a schedule that you're going to find in the National Football League. Where are your top three? Because, of course, we have Buffalo, Cleveland, the Chargers. Everybody's hot on them. Last night, Baltimore. And then I don't know that you can keep Pat Mahomes outside the top three in the AFC.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think you still keep them up there. I wouldn't push back on anyone who had them first still. I know that they're 2 and 3. I know the defense is really, really bad. And defense does matter. But if I'm going to have a weakness at this point in the year, I'd want to be the defense, because defense is more chaotic earlier on. There's a lot more variance in defense. I think they're legitimately bad. So I don't think this is just variance that has led to them being bad. But if you're going to be bad somewhere, you'd rather be bad there. So I still think Kansas City's in the top three for sure. I have Buffalo and the Chargers, actually, number 3 in the AFC right now. That could be a tad overly optimistic, but I think that when you look at the teams they've played a lot of really good teams, and they've played them really well. They had that Cowboys win, which looks better, or the Cowboys loss, which looks better and better each and every week. A game where they could have won it, but had all these absurd, crazy penalties inside the red zone. Now the red zone offense is clicking. They are, making things work. They're scoring touchdowns there, even when they don't want to, as happened in that Browns game. I think that they're number 3. I believe in this defense. I believe in Justin Herbert. And I think that, given the teams they face, given how well they played against those teams, and given the fact that I think they might be in the driver's seat to get the 1 seed, given their schedule after this Baltimore game, I kind of think the Chargers are 3rd for me at worst. I think 3 is I don't know if that's too high, but I feel like it's hard for me to put them lower than that right now.
Jim Sanas of FanDuel, NumberFire, joining us here. BetQL Daily, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, let's go back to the Chargers. We played Staley when we came in here. Great game plan. Aggressive on 4th down, unlike Stefanski with Baker Mayfield. Do you think Justin Herbert could keep this up? Jim, his numbers on 3rd and 4th down this season are unbelievable. I mean, better than most quarterbacks in any other situation. He's been that good. Do you think Herbert could keep this up, specifically in those clutch moments, those big moments, those leverage moments in games?
He can't be as good as he's been because it's, like you said, it's ridiculous. Like, no one's going to be that good over a large sample. But when we talk about regression, it's important to remember they're regressing back towards expectation. And expectation for Justin Herbert is that he'll be above average on third and fourth down, not just because of him, but also because he's got bodies that you want on third down. You know, you look at Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, you're like, okay, those dudes can make it work on third down. And then Jared Cook is, you know, easily out there. Donald Parham at times as well. Austin Eckler can make things happen. So he's not going to be as good as he's been, but I still think he will be probably one of the better third/fourth down passers in the league. It also does help that, like, he knows there's a chance that his coach will go for it on fourth down, which I think gives him a lot more flexibility to maybe be a bit more aggressive on third down, take some chances he might not take otherwise. So I think it's a combination of the fact that he's a good quarterback they've got good personnel for those types of situations, and he knows that his coach believes in him and will give him shots at fourth down. I think you combine those factors, it's going to make them an above average team on the situations, even if they can't sustain how good they've been so far.
Jim, let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. 13-1 at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the odds would suggest that they're slightly better than Green Bay, right there with Dallas. Are you a believer?
I think that they're right there. I've got them, if I'm looking at my power rankings right now, I've got them right between those two teams in the NFC. Dallas right ahead of them, Green Bay right behind them, and then being behind Tampa Bay and the Rams in the NFC. And you know, it's hard to dispute what they've done so far, and I think they're doing it potentially kind of like the Chargers, where it's a bit unsustainable because it's kind of like, okay, Kyler, go win the game, and that doesn't always work, especially now with Kyler's shoulder being banged up. Like, I'm looking at this number against Cleveland right now, and I don't think they should be 3-point dogs personally in that game, and I'm wondering how much of that is concern over Kyler's shoulder, which didn't look fully healthy in that game last week against San Francisco. So a little bit wary of that. I kind of want to see what the injury report looks like for them this week. But I think overall, like, if you told me, okay, it was just, you know, he's fine, I would be pretty into the Cardinals, just because I think that they are showing they can get some turnovers on defense. Kyler is Kyler, and they've got more depth in their pass catches than they've had the past couple of years. I think those things combine to make them a legitimate threat. I'm just worried about this Kyler shoulder thing and hoping it's not more than, oh, he was just a little bit banged up during the game.
This episode is brought to you by the Home Depot. The key to your new living room is right in your phone. No, really. The Home Depot app is the perfect digital toolbox you need to get your projects done faster. Find exactly what you need by using image search and calculate your materials with the in-app project calculators. You can even shop online and have the store come to you by choosing same-day, next-day, or 2-day shipping. Find what you need fast and kick off your next project with confidence. Download the Home Depot app today to get started.
This episode is brought to you by Off the Eaten Path. You're hungry for adventure, so try a snack that satisfies your curiosity and your appetite. Off the Eaten Path Veggie Crisps and Chickpea Veggie Crisps are bursting with flavor and texture, designed to take your taste buds on a journey. Packed with real veggies like chickpeas, black beans, rice, and green peas, these gluten-free crisps are deliciously crunchy and non-GMO project verified. Plus, they have no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. So it's a great tasting snack you can feel good about. Real veggies. Really delicious. Shop now for Off the Eaten Path Veggie Crisps on Amazon or at stores near you.
Jim, the Cowboys continue to play really good football. They are now 5-0 against the spread. They have been one of the stories of the NFL. I feel like almost in a way we're not talking about them enough. You know, the Cowboys are 4-1. Everyone's talking about them. It's like, yeah, they're good. They're really good. And last week, again, I know the Giants had injuries there, but Dallas, are you starting to think about Dallas in the context of not just they're going to win the NFC East, which they should at this point, but bigger, that the Dallas Cowboys are a legitimate Super Bowl threat out of the NFC?
Yeah, I think we could have had that thought going into the year, honestly. I think that they were a bit underrated coming into the year because we knew if healthy, Dak Prescott had the potential to quarterback a top 5 offense because they were getting Tyron Smith back. They were getting the offensive line healthier. They were getting CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. the offense had that top 5 upside. Basically what you needed was some good variance on defense. And, they had devoted a lot of resources on defense, both last year and this year with Trayvon Diggs and then Micah Parsons. But also bringing in Keanu Neal, maybe that's something that works out. And we've kind of seen that happen. So, you give me a top 5 offense with a defense with the potential to be league average, that's the recipe for a team that can contend. So I think that we were a bit low on them coming into the year. And as a result, we haven't really caught up to how good they are. And because, like you said, they're 5-0 against the spread, typically you'll see books adjust to that and catch up. Like, okay, yeah, we're losing, we're constantly not being in line with the market on this team, and you'll see over adjustments. I don't see that for week 6, at least. They're facing New England. It's a 4-point spread right now, and I think it should be a bit wider, partly because I don't know. I feel like Mac Jones might have gotten a bit overrated based on the Tampa Bay game because the 19 straight completions and stuff like that. I think that Dallas, I don't think the numbers have fully caught up to them yet. I think that you can still get some value on them despite the fact they are 5-0 against the spread.
12 regular season games left, and you can find Pat Mahomes 18-1 right now to be the MVP. What do you think?
I think it's interesting because, think of the numbers he's going to put up, Joe.
Yeah,
going
to break all these records. Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be absurd what he's going to do. And I think the one counterpoint to that is that the best story among the guys who put up the really good numbers? Because Justin Herbert's going to put up really good numbers. It's, a second-year guy, made this leap, doubted coming out of college, et cetera, et cetera. Lamar making this step forward as a passer, I think that great story there. Kyler is kind of a fun breakout guy. I think that the narratives around them might be more fun than Pat Mahomes carrying this hideous defense. But 18-1 for a guy who's, I know he's had some turnovers, but Patrick Mahomes' numbers are still really good. From an expected points number, he's had some weird stuff going on. So you give that offensive line more time to gel. You give Mahomes more time to adjust to, not having a true number 2 wide receiver behind Tyreek Hill out there. Maybe he gets more comfortable with Mecole Hardman and stuff like that. I think the numbers he puts are going to be stupid, and I think that the totals we see in those games are going to be just absurd week in, week out, because if you're Andy Reid, you can never take your foot off the gas. If you're up 31-10, that's not a safe lead with this defense. So I feel like they're going to be putting up absurd numbers for Pat Mahomes, but also the totals in those games are going to be amazing. So I think that all things point to this Chiefs offense being crazy, crazy fun, despite the fact they've had some bumpiness, even on offense so far.
So Jim, then we were looking at it earlier before you hopped on, Joe. Just going through the MVP market right now. There's 9 guys. Mahomes is at the bottom of those 9 right now in terms of odds at the moment. Allen, Murray, Prescott, Herbert, Brady, Rodgers, Stafford, Lamar, Mahomes. And then there's a gigantic drop. It's basically those 9 are in their own stratosphere, and then forget everybody else for right now. If you had to guess right now or put a wager right now, where would you go? Because, as we talked through this, as you answered that last question, it made me think of baseball's steroid era. They're all going to break records. There's 17 games now. The NFL's an offensive league. They're all going to have numbers at the end of the year that it's how is this guy not the MVP? But obviously only one guy's going to win the MVP. Where would you lean right now as we enter week 6 if you're guessing the MVP?
I feel like Herbert's the best relative to his number at 6-1, just because, like I said, after that Baltimore game, they don't have a lot of, tough games down the stretch. If I'm looking at my preseason numbers, I had them favored in 10 of their final 11 games. And that was before we saw a confirmation that Justin Herbert in 2020 was going to be, we got a Justin Herbert in 2021. So I feel like, to me, there's a chance, and it's not probable, but there is a good chance that the Chargers win 14 games this year. And if they do that with Herbert putting up the numbers he's put up, it's going to be really hard not to give him the MVP. I think that Brady was initially the guy who I was a bit drawn towards because there is kind of a fun narrative there, just given the age and stuff like that. But I think that we'll see some losses at some point for Tampa Bay just because that defense is so banged up. So if I'm looking at this from a voting perspective, or okay, we want a good narrative, we want a young guy who's ascending, stuff like that, and someone who's going to win a lot of football games. Herbert at 6-1, I think there actually is still some value there.
Jim, you quickly mentioned Dallas favored by 4 at New England. Any other games that really stand out as we first glance at the week 6 card?
Yeah, I think the Arizona one, I want to wait to see what Kyler's health is. If we get the Wednesday injury report, he's like a full practice with that shoulder, I would say taking +3 there is really attractive to me. I think it's partly because I'm not as high on Cleveland as everyone else. I think I like Baker more than everyone else, but I still don't. I'm not sold on the team as a whole quite yet. So I think Arizona +3 if we get confirmation that Kyler's shoulder is healthy Wednesday. I will go there. I do like the Chargers +3.5 against Baltimore. Baltimore just played this massive emotional game on Monday Night Football. They're on short rest now. Chargers are flying east, but I just think they're a really good football team. So I think that Chargers +3.5 pretty attractive to me. I've liked what I've seen from Justin Fields, Joe. I think that it's definitely been the past 2 weeks with him and Bill Lazor have been good, but 4.5 for Green Bay is a pretty small number. So I think to me, the ones that stand out most right now are Arizona, the Chargers, and then Green Bay outside of Dallas. The ones that stand out most to me is ones where I'm seeing some value right now. Not betting Arizona yet, because I do want to see the Kyler health stuff, but the other ones I think I'd be comfortable pulling the trigger on right now.
That was Jim Sanas. Jim, we appreciate it. Jim Sanas, FanDuel, number 5. He was on the Roman guest line. Get a free online evaluation, ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. Go to GetRoman.com/BetQL now to get $15 off your first month. That's GetRoman.com/BetQL. Coming up, we got to go off the board and dive into the ALDS game today. The White Sox and the Astros, and boy, there's a lot of talk going on, but before the games and after the games between those two teams. I can't wait to talk about that, and we'll go off the board as well. Joe O, Joe G, Aaron Hawksworth, BetQL Daily, presented as always by FanDuel Sportsbook.